He wasn't the first child to climb the mango tree, nor the last to believe that its fruit, plucked in secret, always tastes sweeter. The tree stood like a crooked sentinel at the edge of a slow, brown river. Its roots were exposed and gnarled, gripping the bank like bones breaking through flesh. It had survived storms, floods, and even droughts, but not without scars. Half of its canopy was bare, the bark split with lichen and heat cracks. Still, each year it gave a modest offering of fruit, green gold globes heavy with late-season juices. The boy climbed it barefoot, moving with the confidence and alacrity earned over dozens of tries. He was small for his age, lean from walking to school on empty mornings and careful not to let the mango sellers in the market see him sneak through the banana groves. His mother had warned him not to eat fruit that had been partially eaten or bitten, but hunger and memory are often stronger than caution. The fruit had a crescent mark on one side, near its stem. The boy noticed it, hesitated, and turned it in his palm. The bitten part glistened in the sun, but he shrugged and took the first bite from the other side. It was sweet, the kind of saccharine that curls the tongue and fills your mouth with water. His stomach growled, he devoured it to the pit, wiped his fingers on his shirt, and dropped the stone into the river. Overhead, something rustled in the branches. He looked up and saw nothing, just leaves, just the wind. That night, he developed a headache. His mother gave him water and laid a damp cloth across his brow. The air was thick with the smell of fried fish from the neighbor's window. The ceiling fan rattled. The boy rolled over and mumbled something about a burning light. The next morning, he didn't get up. He was sweating. His eyes were open but unfocused. He called for his mother, but she was already beside him, checking his temperature with the back of her hand and whispering, "It's just the heat. You always get sick in the heat." But this wasn't the heat. By evening, his limbs began to jerk, small twitches at first, then stronger, like an invisible string was pulling his muscles tight. He cried out once, loud and sharp, then fell silent. They carried him to the government clinic on a makeshift stretcher, two neighbors holding the ends of an old door. His mother walked behind them barefoot, her hands clasped in prayer or in disbelief. At the clinic, the nurse did not meet her eyes. She told her to sit. Someone would come soon. A junior doctor soon examined him. She scribbled notes, ordered IV fluids, and adjusted his head on the pillow. He had asked for water but choked when they brought it. His skin burned to the touch. His pulse thudded and slowed. The monitor beeped, steady, accusing. He died before sunrise. The cause of death was listed as suspected encephalitis. The report was stamped, signed, and filed. He was 10 years old. The village didn't mourn him loudly. There were no drums, no flowers. His body was simply wrapped in a thin cotton sheet and buried near the back wall of the family's ancestral plot. No one came closer than they had to. His mother washed her face and hair in the river and sat inside for 3 days, not speaking to anyone. The women in the village said nothing to her afterwards, but behind closed doors they wondered, how could a boy so strong, so healthy, die so suddenly? They didn't know yet that it was only the beginning. In March of 2019, 5 members of a family in Bangladesh died after experiencing a febrile illness. It was later discovered that one member had been infected with Nipah virus and had presumably transmitted the deadly pathogen to his familial caretakers. Nipah virus is a paramoxavirus, a negative-sense, single-stranded RNA virus that was first discovered in 1998 as a novel cause of acute encephalitis outbreaks in Malaysia. Since then, more than 600 cases, with case fatality rates ranging from 40 to 100%, have been identified in Malaysia, Bangladesh, India, Singapore, and the Philippines. A particular concern is the fact that human-to-human transmission has been observed in India and Bangladesh, where cases have also entailed greater virulence and mortality. Likewise, cases in the Philippines have been associated with food-borne transmission, further compounding surveillance and intervention efforts alike. Thus, despite its in-choate existence, Nipah is classified already as a Stage 3 zoonosis, a pathogen that spills over from animal reservoirs into human populations and causes intermittent cycles of human-to-human transmissibility and epidemics. Should further evolution occur, Nipah could likely become a Stage 4 zoonosis, a pathogen that causes self-sustaining chains of transmissibility within human populations that's capable of causing global pandemics. Finding measures to contain its incidence in endemic regions is therefore crucial, yet inasmuch as Nipah poses an elusive and growing threat to mankind, specific cultural practices have been attributed to its accession. In the Philippines, foodborne cases of Nipah encephalitis have been traced back to eating infected horse meat. In Bangladesh and India, the ternary practices of consuming raw date palm sap, familial care of infected patients, and tactile funerary rituals have been associated with its transmission and its regional evolution. As such, Nipah infections reflect not only the multiple viral strains that now exist between the regions, but also the disparate cultural activities and beliefs that are exploited by those strains. Consequently, measures to prevent and eradicate Nipah must entail interventions that are tailored to each culture and to its distinct practices. Moreover, given the increasing range of pteropus, bats, and flying foxes, the natural reservoirs for Nipah, due to climate change, more cultures and cultural practices will likely be exploited as transmission pathways. However, the risk of Nipah spillover should not be regarded as simply cultural. It's increasingly ecological. Anthropogenic climate change, through its disruption of habitats, seasonal fruiting cycles, and bat foraging behaviors, has altered the spatial dynamics between host species and human populations. The expansion of bat ranges due to rising temperatures and deforestation has brought reservoir species into sustained contact with densely populated areas. In many regions of India, Bangladesh, and Malaysia, formerly seasonal fruit trees now bear fruit more erratically or outside traditional harvest windows, increasing the likelihood of overlapping feeding activities between bats and humans. These shifts are not merely coincidental, they reflect broader patterns within ecological compressions. Spillover, in this context, is not random. It's a biological consequence of shrinking ecological buffers. In stable ecosystems, forest canopies and geographic distance act as barriers, natural partitions that limit direct contact between wildlife and humans. But climate change has weakened those divisions. Droughts increase and flowering cycle changes, fruit bats are driven into peri-urban and agricultural zones in search of food. The viruses they carry move with them, not by intent, but by proximity. Climate change intensifies spillover risks through several converging mechanisms. First, rising temperatures alter phenologic cycles, delaying or advancing the blooming of fruit trees, disrupting the timing of bat migrations, and shifting the geographic distribution of plant species critical to bat diets. This ecological mismatch increases nutritional stress among reservoir species, driving them into human settlements in search of alternative food sources. Second, intensified weather extremes, droughts, floods, cyclones disrupt roosting sites and destroy native habitats, forcing bats to adapt by colonizing in man-made structures. This relocation places them in daily proximity to dense human populations, dramatically increasing the likelihood of cross-species transmission. Third, land use change and agricultural expansion compound the effects of climate stressors. In South and Southeast Asia, monoculture plantations replace diverse native forests, erasing both food sources and habitat complexity. The resulting ecological simplification or loss of biodiversity increases contact zones between bats, domestic animals, and humans. This was evidenced in the 1998-99 Nipah outbreak in Malaysia, where fruit trees planted near pig farms created the perfect interface. Bats dropped contaminated fruit into the pig enclosures, the pigs consumed the fruit, and the virus spilled from pigs into humans, triggering a fatal outbreak with over 100 deaths. These conditions are no longer anomalies. They're expanding baseline realities under climate change. According to models of future Terrapus habitat suitability, regions of India, Southeast Asia, and even parts of sub-Saharan Africa may become increasingly hospitable to reservoir species for Nipah. As temperatures climb, highland regions once considered low risk may become new ecological niches for paroxysmovirus transmission. In this way, climate change acts not only as a multiplier of existing vulnerabilities, but as the cartographer and catalyst of future pandemics. Ecological degradation also undermines not only natural boundaries, but also surveillance and containment infrastructures. Areas most affected by climate disruption are often the least resourced in terms of medical spending, laboratory capacity, and emergency preparedness. Seasonal migration patterns, food insecurity, and displacement further erode health systems' reach and community trust. In such contexts, early spillover events may go undetected, enabling viruses like Nipah to circulate silently until the symptoms are severe and fatal. In sum, the ongoing emergence of Nipah virus must be understood not simply as a failure of hygiene or culture, but as the logical outcome of global environmental instability. The cultural practices that once facilitated transmission are now nested within and exacerbated by larger planetary forces. Climate change reshapes ecological conditions under which the cultures operate, and as such, Nipah represents not only an elusive and evolving biological threat, but also an ecological harbinger, a warning that the boundaries we once relied upon between species, spaces, and systems are being irreversibly redrawn to our detriment.